Shri Sai Ram, offering our collective salutations at the divine lotus feet of our Master Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, the founder of Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. Respected dignitaries, leadership board members, loving teachers, and my dear brothers and sisters, a hearty welcome to one and all for this wonderful forum, Words of Wisdom. In the Ramayana, after Rama killed Ravanasura, Lakshmana tells Rama, "Oh brother, why don't you take over this golden city of Lanka and instead give Ayodhya to Vibhishana? Anyway, you just promised a kingdom instead of this, why not that?" For this, Lord Rama replied, "Janani Janma Bhumishcha Swargadapi Gariyasi," meaning mother and motherland are greater, far greater than heavens. Indeed, isn't it true? There is no better place than our Bharat. Our country is filled with vibrant culture, rich history, and consists of various traditions and customs. If India is unique and rich, it is because of its spiritual heritage rooted in the truths told in its scriptures. Understanding the spiritual culture of India and its practice in daily life, the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence is a modern day Gurukula system of education which imparts high quality academic education, rightly balanced with moral and spiritual values of India. Apart from offering regular academic courses, our university also offers full fledged undergrad and postgrad courses in Indian performing arts and Vedic studies so that they can spread the glory of India far and wide. Today's session is indeed special because we have got an opportunity and honor to host Srimati Anuradha Goyal, an inspiring, versatile, and a passionate leader, founder of the Indie Tales, with us. On behalf of our entire fraternity of Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, we cordially welcome you, ma'am, to this wonderful forum of words of wisdom. Srimati Anuradha Goyal is an author, columnist, blogger, and public speaker who works on multiple dimensions of the three spaces of business innovation, travel, and books. She is the founder of the leading bilingual travel media portal, Indie Tales, where she documents her global travels in words, audios, and video formats with a focus on the rich legacy of ancient India. She is also the author of the books titled Lotus in the Stone, Sacred Geography in Eternal India, which was published in 2020, Unusual Temples of India, which was again published in 2020, The Mouse Charmers, Digital Pioneers of India, which was published in 2014, co-author of India Innovates series for CII and several other books. She is also a proud pioneer in curating India's first Yatra conference aiming to revive the age-old traditions of pilgrimage in India. Madam, once again, it is a great honor to have you amidst us. Madam will be addressing all of us on the topic Sacred Map of India. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaste. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me, Prashanti ji, madam, and everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm a traveler. I'm basically a traveler, and while traveling, I end up learning a lot. I end up meeting a lot of people like you, and from everybody, I try to learn something. I'm a very greedy person, so today also I want to go back learning something from you. And what you learn from me, if or not you learn from me, it's up to you. If you ask questions, you'll probably get something from me and my experience, but I am here to learn from you. Are you going to teach me something? Great. Okay, so how many of you are from Karnataka? Okay, ulta. How many of you are not from Karnataka? Wow, a lot of them. How many of you are from South India? How many of you are from North India? Very good. So, how many of you have traveled across India? How many states roughly? How many of you have traveled to more than 10 states of India? Wow, very good. What's your name? Aarti. Very good, Aarti. Okay, how many of you have traveled to more than 5 states in India? About About 10% of you. How many of you have traveled to more than 3 states of India? Very good. Okay, very good. So, um, India is, we always hear that India is one of the most diverse countries. We all speak different languages. We dress up differently. Our food is different. And there's so many differences, right? Then what connects India? What is it that connects India? Culture. Okay, somebody tell me what is culture? What is way of life? Give me a practical example. You are a South Indian, I'm a North Indian. My way of life is very different. What I eat is very different. How I dress up is different. What I speak is different. So, what is it that is same? What is it that is same? The country. Sir, what is common between Kerala and Kashmir? What is common between Kerala and Kashmir? Or Assam and Maharashtra? Or Gujarat? Atithi Devo Bhava is one of the things that everybody believes in, right? But that happens only when we get a Atithi. Atithi means somebody who comes without a tithi, somebody who lands at our doorstep without announcing. So if I have come here today on your invitation, I'm actually not an Atithi because the tithi for my coming was fixed. So I'm not an Atithi. Atithi is somebody who's passing by your house, stops by, and you offer your hospitality to somebody who may not give you anything in return, who's not related to you. When our relatives come, when our friends come, when our invited guests come, they are tithis because their tithi is fixed. We fix a date and time and place and agenda and venue for that meeting, like we've done today. Atithi is somebody who comes unannounced, and that doesn't happen too often, at least not in this day and time. So, what is it that connects India? There must be something that connects, that is same across all the regions of India. What is spirituality? We all follow different religions also, and within a religion we follow so many different ways to worship and so many different ways of life. That is true for across the world, na? Tell me a place where they don't worship God with love. Do you know of a place where they don't worship their God with love? Whoever you think the God is. Love everyone is also, everyone says, whether we practice it or not is a different thing, right? So, what is it that connects India? Concern. Concern for what? Concern for others. Who does it include? Others. No, that's good to hear, but how many of us practice it? We all practice it. Great, great. Okay, so let me tell you, I'm a traveler. So I'm going to give you a traveler's point of view, which is that yatras or travels is what connects this country. Anybody who's born on this land, anybody who is born on this land or belongs to this land, today a lot of people live outside the land of what we define as Bharatvarsha. Anybody knows what's the definition of Bharatvarsha? Which land is called Bharatvarsha? India is a very recent name, 1947. Bharatvarsha is mentioned in all our scriptures. Yes, but what is the definition of Bharatvarsha? What are the limits of Bharatvarsha? So every Puran defines Bharatvarsha as south of Himalayas and north of the three seas. Right? So the land which is south of Himalayas and north and is bound by the ocean on the three sides is called Bharatvarsha. It's a very, very clear definition. Today, only a part of that is what is Republic of India. Right? If you really have to look at the Puranic definition of Bharatvarsh, it includes the whole of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, parts of China, Myanmar, and a whole lot of Sri Lanka and whole lot. Okay? That is the definition of Bharatvarsh. Now, Varsh is a word that is used for many things. It is a word that is used for a year. It is a word that gives us the word for Varsha Ritu, because we used to at some point in time measure Varsh from Varsha Ritu. And it is also a geographical measure. And we still use it. Can anybody tell me where we still use this word? You do a lot of yagnas and you do a lot of pujas. So anybody can tell me where we still use the word Bharatvarsh? Panchang. Okay, that's one place. But in your daily worship, in your anushtans, somewhere we use this word Bharatvarsh. You know, every puja that we do, we clearly specify the space and time. We say Jambu Dvipe, Bharat Khande, Bharat Varshe, and in today's time, we'll say Karnataka, Pradeshe, Chikbellapur, Janpad, XYZ village, this room, this place. And then we'll say the time. We'll start with Shwet Varaha Kalap, we'll start with 28th, 7th Manvanta, 28th Kali Yuga, and then come down to today's Tithi. How many of you know today's Tithi? What is the Tithi today? What is the month going on right now? Shravan. What is the Paksha? No, we just had Purnima yesterday. How can it be Shukla Paksha? If it was Purnima yesterday, it has to be Pratipada today. Right? So we specify that. So we still use these definitions of Bharatvarsh. Now coming back to the yatras. Now Bharatvarsh, anybody who's born in Bharatvarsh or belongs to Bharat, has ancestors who are from Bharatvarsh, where do they want to go? Tell me 5 places where they want to go. Kashi, Kedarnath, wait. Kashi, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Manasarovar, Rameshwaram, Arunachalam. Arunachalam, actually not many people in North would know, but let me take 2 out of these. Kashi and Rameshwaram. Right? Everybody knows Kashi? How many of you have been to Kashi? You need to do a trip to Kashi. Okay, how many of you been to Rameshwaram? Few of you. And how many of you want to go to both these places? You don't want to go? Okay. This is the answer. No matter where you are born, everybody wants to go to Kashi. Everybody in whichever part of the world you live in, you want to go to Kashi once in your lifetime. You want to, anybody who lives in Kashi, they want to go to Rameshwaram. In fact, in Mahabharat and in Adbhut Ramayana, there is a yatra that is mentioned. They say your yatra is complete when you take water from Rameshwaram and do the abhishek of Kashi Vishwanath, and when you get the water from Ganga and do the abhishek of Rameshwaram lingas. Okay, so that is how our spaces are connected to each other. And this is what joins. No matter where you are born, you want to go to Kedarnath, you want to go to Badrinath, you want to go to Kamakhya, you want to go to all the tirthas that you can think of. You want to go to Mathura, you want to go to Ayodhya. Now that the Ram temple is coming, how many of us want to go to Ayodhya? See? Why? We all come from different parts of the world, from different parts of India. But our ichha shakti to go to Ayodhya is common to all of us. Agree? Okay, so can move? So let's look at the sacred map of India. Okay, so this is just a little bit about me. Those of you don't know me, I run this travel blog called Indie Tales. It's India's biggest travel blog, bilingual travel blog. We publish in English and Hindi. We have a podcast called Detours. Uh, and I curated this Indica Yatra. These are some of our social impressions. I'm in Limca Book of Records for certain things. Let's move on to the next one. These are my books, ma'am. You were asking about them. So the first book is actually a book on business innovation, which I wrote many years ago. It documents the innovation journey of the 12 pioneering digital companies of India, like Flipkart, Make My Trip, Shadi.com, those kind of companies. Second book is my personal journey of discovering this country. And I would love all of you to read this book, because the feedback that I have got from your age group is that this book helps us discover the richness around us, the richness of the culture around us, and a way to discover India. Navratri is a book where we documented 16 kshetras of India, including Nepal. As you know, and I'm told that you celebrate Navratri in a big way. And Navratri is the festival is same, the deity is same, but every region of India celebrates it in a very different way. So we've documented, and all the documentation, unfortunately, of Navratri was by Westerners who have a very clinical way to look at our festivals. We wanted to document it as practitioners, as devotees of Ma, of Adi Shakti. So 16 people have come together, and I've had the good fortune of editing it with Dr. Bibek Debroy. How to read Indian scriptures. So I have personally been reading Indian scriptures for now 7-8 years. Every morning I get up and spend 1.5 2 hours reading one scripture, and that's how I'm discovering a lot of India. And this is a book not really for you guys because you do your Paravidya classes, but for anybody who has this mental blocks that do I need to know Sanskrit to read scriptures? Do I need a guru to read scriptures? Can I read without initiation? Is it easy to read? Is it doable? So all those questions are answered here. It's a workbook format. Ayodhya Mahatmya is again something which I was very fortunate to do. I did it for Ayodhya Shodh Sansthan, which is based in Ayodhya. So I studied Skanda Puran, which has a Ayodhya Mahatmya, a huge text on Ayodhya. And I visited Ayodhya, each and every spot that is mentioned in Skanda Puran, and I recreated a map, which I'm going to share in a minute, of Ayodhya. And anybody who wants to visit Ayodhya, this is a ready reckoner for visiting Ayodhya. It even has a Ayodhya calendar, as in if you visit in a particular month, what are the festivals, what are the fasts, what are the things you can do in that month. These are my temple series, 3 of them: Unusual Temples of India, Cave Temples of India, Devi Temples of India. And there is one more book that I'm working on called Royal Temples of India, which will come sometime in next 3-4 months. So this is just documentation of temples, and this is where I need lot of help from all of you. I want you to document all the temples that you see. Just go and document them online, and once it is documented, it is very difficult to destroy it. And even if it's destroyed, it can be recreated. Ayodhya is a very good example of it. 6 years back, if we had visited Ayodhya, it was like any other dusty small UP town. But we can recreate Ayodhya because there is so much documentation. There is whole of Ramayana, and there is a Skand Puran talking about Ayodhya, and based on that we can recreate Ayodhya. So documentation is very, very important. All of you, when you visit temples, please document them. In a lot of places, in fact, government have come out with a My Gaon, My Heritage portal, where you can simply upload a picture and document temples. Next, please. Okay, so this is my Instagram. How many of you are on Instagram? Nobody? Oh, they don't have phones. Okay, then let's move on. Okay, so we are talking about sacred map of India. What is a sacred space? How do you define a sacred space? What makes a space sacred? or what is a tirtha? Positive vibrations. But how do positive vibrations come? Veda recitation. Okay. Anything else? You'll have to speak louder. Good things. Who does good things? We do good things. Okay. What else? Why is Kashi sacred and Bangalore not so sacred? I mean, I'm not saying it's not sacred, but why is Kashi more sacred than other places? Yeah, but how were the positive energy created there? So everybody had good thoughts. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So next one, temple. So the literal meaning of tirtha is this: Tarati aneniti tirtham. Something that helps you cross over. Tirtha is usually referred to water, a water body. So every sacred spot you will find a water body. In fact, in Kashi, now we think that Kashi Vishweshwar is the biggest thing, but it's actually Ganga that is the biggest tirtha there. In Mathura, it's Yamuna that is the biggest tirtha. Okay, so anything that lets you cross over where? To go deeper inside yourself, to go be above and beyond where you exist today. And in another frame, it also means going to moksha, going towards moksha, which in Sanatan Dharma is the ultimate goal of life, to attain moksha. Right? So the different names that we will talk about is Tirtha, a Pavitra Sthala, a Punya Bhumi, a Tapo Bhumi, a Siddha Peeth, a Siddha Bhumi. These are some of the words. They are not exactly the same, but as we go, we'll try to see the difference between them. Right? Any questions till now, or anything that you want to ask about this topic? I may not have the answer, but if you give me the question, I'll have a question to research on. You know what this where this is? No, this is not Kashi. It's not Kashi, so it cannot be Varanasi. This is Narmada. The river is Narmada. Now, can you identify? This is Maheshwar. Okay, this was built by Ahilyabai Holkar. Have you heard of Ahilyabai Holkar? No? Anybody who's heard of Ahilyabai Holkar? Huh? Today, all the ancient temples that exist across India is thanks to Ahilyabai Holkar. She was the queen of Malwa. The palace that you see behind is her palace. And she revived all the famous temples of India were revived by her in 18th century. And you must study about her. All the feminist gyan that is given to us today is shattered by this one queen. She lived in 18th century when they say all women used to be burnt with their husband. She was a widow. She became widow at a very young age and she lived a very long life. So she shatters one thing. She was a single parent. She lived in a time when British were coming. She lived in a time when Mughals were ruling, and she still managed to revive temples across India. So I would seriously suggest go back and read her biography. Next. Okay, so let me talk about some of the tirthas. Okay, what are the different types of tirthas that we have? What are the different types of tirthas that you've heard of? And don't be scared of giving wrong answers. There are no wrong answers. Tirthas, Tirthyatra, what are the different types of tirthas? Is Kashi same as Sri Rangam? Is Kashi same as Sri Rangam? What is different? The deity is different. Temple. So we are not talking about temples today. Someday we'll talk. But yeah, temples. The temple architecture varies region to region, village to village. Okay. So, but temples exist in both places. So in Brahma Puran, there are 4 types of tirthas that are mentioned. Okay. 4 types of tirthas. First tirtha is called Deva tirthas. Tirthas which are based on certain devatas. Okay. Who are our primary devatas? Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Devi, Ganesh, Kartikeya, Surya. Right? Okay, so this is the map of Ayodhya that I had created. And the blue band that you see is Saryu. It's the Saryu river. And all the blue spots that you see are ponds. And each pond has a story. I have more than 55 ponds that I identified in Ayodhya. The reason I'm showing you this is to tell you, even when there is a perennial river, and there are 2 sangams that happen. If you see, one sangam is happening there, one sangam happens at the bottom. So there are 2 sangams happening in Ayodhya. Even then, there are so many water bodies created, and each water body is sacred. So sacred will always have an element of water. Okay, next. Okay, so let's come to Deva Tirthas. So there are Shiva. With Shiva, how many Tirthas are associated? You've heard of 12 Jyotirlingas? Huh? How can anybody tell me which are those 12 Jyotirlingas? Anybody who knows? No? Okay. There are 108 Shiva Kshetras across India. There is another list which gives 274 Shiva Kshetras. And then every smaller Kshetra has Panch Shiva temples. In Tamil Nadu, you have Panch Tattva temples. You have Agni Lingam, Jal Lingam, Akash Lingam, Bhu Lingam, and Vayu Lingam. Right? Akash Lingam is at Chittambaram, Bhu Lingam is at Kanchipuram, right? So on and so forth. So there are Shiva Kshetras, and anybody who's a Shiva devotee can visit any of these temples. Next. So this is Kashi Vishwanath. So we have 12 Jyotirlingas. Next. This one is Omkareshwar on Narmada. And this is Nageshwar in the Kumaon Hills in Uttaranchal. Next. This is a stotra by Adi Shankaracharya, which gives us the list of 12 Jyotirlingas. Let me see how many we know of. Saurashtra Somnath. Where is Somnath? Gujarat. Saurashtra is in Gujarat. Sri Shailam Mallikarjuna. Sri Shailam. Ujjaini Mahakal. Right? Omkaresh Mamaleshwar. Oh, so Omkareshwar and Mamaleshwar are twin lingas on the banks of Narmada. Parlayam Vaidyanathancha. Vaidyanath, this is in Jharkhand, in eastern part of India. Dhakinyam Bhima Shankaram. This is near Pune in Maharashtra. Setu Bandhu Rameshwaram. We know Rameshwaram, right? Nagesham Darukavane. The one I showed you is Nageshwar in Darukvan, where the tall Devda trees are there. Varanasyatam Vishweshwaram. Varanasi Vishweshwaram. Trayambakam Gautami Tate. This is in Nasik. Himalaya to Kedaram. Kedarnath, you know, in the Himalayas. Krishneshu tum Vishalke. Krishneshu, this is near Aurangabad in Maharashtra. Etani Jyotirlingani Sayam Prate Pathenara. So you should, anybody who's a Shiv Bhakt should remember these 12 and ideally visit them. They all are very easy to visit. You can easily visit them. This is how they look on the map, so it's not very difficult to visit. Next. Then there are Shakti Peeths. Anybody, can you recognize this temple? Not you. Can you recognize this temple? The very famous temple. Please speak. This is Kamakhya in Assam, right? This is the biggest Shakti Peeth. Then different scriptures give us different lists of Shakti Peeth. There are 108 Shakti Peeths, but it's very difficult to locate them on earth. Some of them are not even supposed to be on earth. There is a list of 51 Shakti Peeths as per some scriptures, but Adi Shankaracharya again has given us a list of 18 Shakti Peeths. This is a picture of, on the left is a small Shakti Peeth in Pushkar in Rajasthan called Manibandh Shakti Peeth. And on the right is Kolhapur Mahalakshmi. The reason I'm showing you these two pictures is the contrast. This is the smallest Shakti Peeth I've seen, and that's one of the biggest. Of course, Kanchi Kamakshi is probably bigger, but this is the range in which you find the Shakti Peeths in India. This is the stotra which gives us 18 Shakti Peeths. And incidentally, Z5 has recently come out with a series called Sarva Shakti Mayam, where they've visited all the 18 Shakti Peeths. One of them is in Sharda Shakti Peeth, which is in Kashmir, which is inaccessible for us as of now, but they've built an alternate temple on this side of the river. And one of them is in Sri Lanka. Okay, and again, all of these are visitable. This is how the map looks like. Okay. Think about the names of your native towns and tell me how many of them, if they are named after a Devi. Think of the cities of that you come from. Tell me, raise your hand if it is named after a Devi. Think of the city you were born in or you grown up in. Give me the names. Anybody? Ramanathapuram. Okay. Anybody else? Have you heard of Kolar, not far from here? What is it named after? Kolarama Devi? Huh? So let me share a small anecdote. Once out of blue, I think I was in Mangalore. How many of you know Mangalore is named after Mangala Devi, right? I was in Mangala and I've grown up in a city called Chandigarh, which is obviously named after Chandi Devi, right? So I said, let's look at how many cities in India are named after Devi. How many cities would have I found? I thought I'll find around 8, 10, 20 cities. Do you know how long my list is? I have about 70 to 80 names of prominent cities in India which are named after Devi. And that is what I plotted on this map. Literally across India, most cities are named after the Gram Devi, named after the Devis that rule that kshetra. And even if today they are not, at some point in time, they have been named after that. Okay? So that is another way to look at how the space, the space that is Bharatvarsha, recognizes the sacred within a land. It's published. It's on my blog. That list is published. It's in the public domain. I presented it as a paper in a Shakti worship workshop. So I'll share. Yeah. If you go on in details and just say cities named after Devi, you'll get the whole list. From Srinagar to Kanchipuram to Kanyakumari to Tarapur. Mumbai, yes. Mumbai. All the Calcutta. Calcutta is Kalikata. So all the major cities in India are named. Delhi was once called Yoginipura because it had Yogini temples. In fact, all the prosperous towns in India are named after Devi. Okay, next. Then for Vishnu, we have 108 Divya Deshams, and the prominent places associated with them are like Mathura, Dwaraka, Madurai, um, Guruvayur, right? Sri Rangam. Next. Ayyappa is different. Ayyappa is actually very regional in South. So, sun temples. How many of you know of sun temples? How many of you worship sun? How do you worship sun? Surya Namaskar. That's the yogic version of it. Yoga, the 12 poses, right? Right? Okay. So, how many of you know of sun temples across India? You'll have to speak loudly. Konark, okay. Modhera, Martand, hmm, right? Okay. So, uh, sun worship is something that we have kind of lost it. Initially, we were, sun is called the Sakshat Devta. Every other devta we have to imagine. We have to imagine Shiva is like this. The image that we have is an imagination. We don't know how Shiva actually looks like. He's Nirgun Nirakar. We don't know how Devi looks like. We don't know how Vishnu looks like. We created their images out of our imagination. But sun is one devata who comes every morning pratyaksh in front of us. And all the life on this earth is dependent on sun in some way. If the sun is not there, we'll not get any food. We'll have a lot of diseases. We'll not have anything. We are living in the reflected glory of sun. And that's why sun worship was very, very prominent. There is a Puran called Samb Puran, named after the son of Krishna, Samb, who had a skin disease, and he was relieved of that disease after he worshipped sun. And then he created three prominent sun temples. The biggest of them was in a place called Moolastan or Multan, which is now in Pakistan. Another was on the banks of Yamuna, so which is right now somewhere in UP, and one in the east. We have two locations. We don't know exactly where. It could be the Konark temple. It could be a temple close to Guwahati. There is a sun temple there, and there is a sun temple in Bihar. So any of this could be the eastern ones. These are the oldest known sun temples. But sun temples are found across India. I found them in Uttarakhand. I found them in Bihar. And Bihar is the only place where, so that is Konark and this is Modhera. Uh, Bihar is the only place where the sun worship continues till date in form of Chhat Puja. They do it on the 6th day after Diwali, Chhat Puja, and across the world, wherever Biharis are. Anybody from Bihar here? Do you want to tell us about Chhat Puja? कैसे करते हैं? उठको बताओ, उठो. A Bihari will tell it better than I would.
Saram. In Chhat Puja, they will have arags. They will have some kind of wood kind of thing, and they will offer everything to sun god, and it will continue till 2 to 3 days, and they will do fasting, and it is done with so many rituals.
Yes. So they stand in the water. They stand knee deep in the water. They fast for 3 days, one of the toughest fasts, and they offer oblations to sun. That's one of the few surviving sun worship. Of course, the next thing that survives is Sankranti. 14 January is Makar Sankranti, although Sankranti comes every month. Right? Next. Then in Maharashtra, we have Asht Ganpati circuit, primarily around Pune. Next. Char Dham. Which are the Char Dhams? Kedarnath. Huh? Okay, so that is called Chota Char Dham, which is Gangotri, Yamunotri, Badrinath, Kedarnath, which is in a small Garhwal region of Uttarakhand. But the Char Dhams mean the four corners of Bharat Varsha. Which are those? Mameshwara, not Sringeri. Rameshwaram is one in the south. Then Dwarka, good. Jagannath Puri, good. Kedarnath, good. Very good. In fact, it's not Kedarnath, it's Badrinath. Okay, so Badrinath in the north, that is where Adi Shankaracharya established his Badrikashram, right? Jyotish Mat, right? And Jagannath Puri, where again there is a Adi Shankaracharya Mat. Dwarka, again there is a Adi Shankaracharya Mat. Only in south, the Adi Shankaracharya Mat is in Sringeri, but the Char Dham is in Rameshwaram, right? And the story that connects all of them together is, they say that the Bhagwan meditates, he does his sadhana in Badrinath, he eats his food in Puri. That's why they have the world's biggest kitchen. You know that, right? Jagannath Puri, because Bhagwan eats there. That's the Anna Kshetra of Bhagwan. He takes bath in Rameshwaram. That's why there are 22 wells there, from which the Abhisheka is done. Right? And in Dwarka, he sleeps. So this is how you remember all the four or connect all the four. Right? Next. So these are the pictures of the four dhams. The Badrinath, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka and Rameshwaram. Next. Then there is one more circuit. It is called Saptapuri. There's a very popular shlok which goes Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika, Puri, Dwaravati, Chaiv, Saptaita, Mokshadaini. So there are 7 cities in India, and these are cities. These are not kshetras. There's a very clear definition of a city, which used to be at some point in time a forted city, a walled city. Okay? Usually by the banks of a river. So these 7 cities across India are supposed to be Mokshadaini. How many of you have you been to? How many of these have you been to? Anybody who's been to all 7 of them? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You need a Saptapuri tour. You need a Saptapuri tour. Right? Okay, so I'll skip this. This is a little... you've heard this term, Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande? Okay. So this replicates at multiple levels. It replicates from cosmic level to our body level to our Sukshma Sharir level. But if we talk at the level of Bharatvarsha, it again replicates. And how it replicates? Next one. This is how it replicates. So all these 7 cities exist within our body. And that's why the order is important. So Ayodhya is mentioned first because it replicates the Mooladhara chakra in our body. And Dwarka represents the ultimate Sahasrara chakra. This is how, and that is why these places are important. Okay. So Yuga Tirthas. What is the Yuga going on right now? Kali Yuga. What are the other 3 yugas? 1%. Krita Yuga or Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga. So every yuga has an tirth associated with it, which is more important. Now, why more important? Just like on our body, certain parts of our body are more important than or more sacred than other parts of our body. When you see musicians, when they take their guru's name, they touch their right ear. Why? Because right ear is supposed to be the most sacred part of our body. And we don't touch anything that we respect with our feet. Right? We don't touch any elder with our feet. We don't touch our books with our feet. And wherever there is a sacred place, we try to keep our feet away. We don't even point our feet towards our elders. Right? So just like some parts of our body are more sacred than the other, there are certain parts on the body of this earth, on the body of Mother Earth, which are more sacred than the other. Just like on our body. Going by the same concept as Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande. So in every yuga also, and yuga is what? Yuga is a time scale. It's the movement of time. So every yuga also there is one tirtha which is the most important tirtha. So can anybody tell me what is the most important tirtha now in Kali Yuga? Any guess? I'm assuming you won't know this, but any guess? Which is the most important tirtha in this yuga, which is Kali Yuga? Ganga. Very right, ma'am. Ganga. Okay, so the first picture is from a place called Naimisharanya. Have you heard this word Naimisharanya? What is Naimisharanya? It's a forest. Aranya. Naimish Aranya. Aranya means it's a forest. But what is special about this forest? Sorry? If you read any Purana, or any scripture, it is being narrated in Naimisharanya. Every Puran starts by saying, in the forest of Naimisharanya, Suta and Sunak were sitting and talking about this. And then the whole episode begins. So Naimisharanya is where the Veda Vyas divided the... Initially, we had only one Veda. It was divided into 4 by Veda Vyas. That's why he got the name Veda Vyasa. Vyas means dividing. Right? His original name was Krishna Dwaipayan. Krishna because he was dark in complexion, Dwapayan because he was born on a dweep. Dweep means dwi apa, a island. A land which is surrounded by water on 2 sides is called dweep. Okay, so Veda Vyasa did it, and then all the 18 Puranas were discussed and narrated and recorded here. That so Naimisharanya was the most important tirtha during Krita Yuga. The second picture is Pushkar. The lake that you see is the Pushkar lake, the only place where Brahma temple is supposedly there, although I found Brahma temples at many places. This is the tirtha associated with Treta Yuga. So if you read Ramayana, if you read many Puranas, lot of people, lot of saints or lot of rishis would go here to do their tapasya. Okay, next one, please. Then it is what is the place in this picture? Huh? Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is the tirtha for Dwapar Yuga, and then in our times it's the Ganga that is the most important tirtha. And if the Ganga is in the shape that it is in today, then it is because of our Papa. Right? So these are the tirthas. Next. Then tirthas are also all things natural. Caves, mountains, rivers, forests, all of them have tirthas. Can you tell me the mountains which are tirthas? Himalayas. Not Himalaya, full Himalayas, but Kailash, right? Arunachaleshwar, Panchkedar, Girnar. That's a shrine on top of a mountain. But in general, all mountains are sacred, in general. But again, like some are more sacred than the other, right? Rivers, which rivers are sacred? Very good. Lakes, any lakes that are sacred? Manasarovar. We just saw, last slide we saw the picture. Pushkar Lake and Mansarovar Lake, right? Next. Caves, any forests apart from Naimisharanya which are sacred? Dandakaranya is sacred or it's fierce? Any other? I'm sure when I say the name, you'll all know the name. Kadalivanam. Kadalivanam means only the banana forest. But which banana forest? With banana forest we find. Yeah, but I'm talking about real forests. Kadalivana would be more like a fruit orchard, right? In Vrindavan, it's one, right? Vrindavan. Vrindavan, actually, if you, as and when you get to travel to Braj, it's actually a land which is full of forest, or which was full of forests. Mathura was a city and it was surrounded by all the forests. There were 12 forests there. 12 different forests, Kamyak one, this one, that one. There's a complete list of forests that were there. Okay, so let me take you through some of them. And caves were the oldest form of dwelling, both for humans and that's why even for our deities. Next one. This you all know, right? Okay, next. They all know this. Okay, anybody knows these caves? On the left, the one on the left. It's not Ajanta Ellora, no. The one on the left is in Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. It's called Udaygiri Caves. It's one of the oldest known cave temples. And what is the scene depicted? The Varaha taking out the earth. The one on the right, you should know. It is from Karnataka, so you should know. Huh? Hampi, no. Pattadakal, no, but close to Pattadakal. Badami. Badami. Okay, so these are some of the oldest caves. Of course, there's a whole list of caves. I have a complete book on cave temples of India, but I wanted to show you these are 5th to 6th century caves, the oldest caves. Yes, ma'am. So the oldest temples are in caves. For example, Amarnath is a cave temple. Vaishno Devi is a cave temple. Most of the temples that we find on top of mountains are cave temples. In fact, most Shiva temples are originally cave temples. Next, ma'am. Okay, these are the temples in the forest. There's a national park called Bhitarkanika National Park in Odisha. These two temples, the one on the green one is a Shiva temple and the other is a Devi temple. And I found these temples deep in the forest in a national park. And I found a forest temple, a Vankhandi Maharaj or a Banashankari temple in every forest I have visited. If you go deep inside, these are the protecting deities of the forests. Right? Next. Then there are Tarpan Tirthas. We all know there are Tirthas where we go for performing the post-death rituals, Tarpan. Some of these are Goa, Gaya, Gokarna, Haridwar, Pushkar, Naimisharanya. Next. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about temples. What are the different types of temples you know of? What are the different types of temples you know of? What is the most beautiful temple you know of? Whether you visit it or not, if you've seen a picture. Meenakshi temple, very good. Huh? Where? Warangal Bhadrakali temple, yes. Tirupati, okay, the ones which are spoken, they are gone. Anything else? Golden temple, where? There are many golden temples, where? Amritsar, Tamil Nadu, okay. Okay. So what makes a temple beautiful? What makes architecture? Deity को भूल गए? हाँ. Temple is the home of deity. जिसका घर है उसको भूल के बोल रहे हो घर बहुत सुंदर है. No, but you are right. The most grand temples that we see, whether they were built by Cholas or Hoysalas or Rashtrakutas or Gurjaras or Kalingas, the most beautiful and the grand temples that we see are actually royal temples. Right? They were built by kings and they are open book, they are an open air history book because they tell you everything about that time. the grander the temple is, we know the more prosperous that period of history was. And everything that is sculpted on the walls of the temple, we know that this is what the life of that time was. Agree? I'll come to that. So it's a Tirtha Sthala, but it has the patronage of many royal kings. Right? So there are temples like temples in Tanjore, built by Cholas. Right? They are the royal temples. They are not really Tirtha Sthalas. Then there are Tirtha Sthalas. For example, Jagannath Puri. It's a Tirtha Sthala, but it has the patronage of royal kings, and that's why we see a huge, grand temple. So every temple is a marker of its period. Whenever you see a certain temples, so for example, Khajuraho temples. Now, Khajuraho temples were built in 10th century. In fact, the most beautiful temples in India were built in 10th century, 10th through 11th century, just before the Islamic invasion started happening. And you can find 11th century temples across country. Khajuraho, Modhera, Cholas in south, in North India, across India, you can find that period the best temples, best sculptures. But each temple is an indicator of its space and time. So you go to Bengal, you find a lot of black stone Pala architecture. You go to south, you find Chola architecture. So they are an indicator. And so temples can be classified on the basis of period, which period they come from, on the basis of their architectural styles, on the basis of their geographical locations, on the basis of the dynasties who built them, and of course on the basis of the deities. These are Shiva temples, these are Vishnu temples, these are this temples. How many of you know your Kula Devta? How many of you visit your Kula Devta at least once a year? Very good. Very good. So what are Kul Devatas? Okay, so let me take you to two different Kula Devata temples. The temple on the left is in Goa. It's called Mangeshi Mahadev temple. So it's a Kul Devata temple of God Saraswat Brahmins. Right? A very small community of Saraswat Brahmins who settled in Goa at some point in time. The temple on the right. Can anybody recognize this temple? Have you heard of a rat temple in Rajasthan? Okay, this is called Karni Mata temple. This is a temple that belongs to a small community called Charans. Now, Karni Mata is a real woman who lived about 700-800 years ago. And she did something miraculous. And when we say miraculous, it's not doing a miracle, but she did something so courageous that it almost seems like a miracle. And because of what she did, her kul was saved. Her kul may have been finished if she had not done that courageous act. So, after her, she became the Kul Devi of her Kula. In fact, in Rajasthan, you find Sati temples. Now, Sati, we've been told, is a very bad thing. It's not. Because Sati is not somebody who dies with her husband. That's just one small part of the Sati Pratha. But Sati is somebody who does Sat. Sat is something that is truth. Sat is something that is very, very highly spoken about in all our scriptures. We say Sat Chit Anand. That's all we are looking for. So anybody who does Sat is called Sati. And these Sati temples belong to women who again did something miraculous to save their kul. And after that, they became the Kul Devis, the protector of their kulas. And the later generations pay their respect and treat them as Shaktis. And they treat them as Kul Devis and they visit them on every occasion. A birth in the family, a wedding in the family, they all visit the Kul Devis. So these are Kul Devata, two examples. You find them across India. Across each one of us has a Kula Devi or a Kula Devata. If you don't know, go ask your parents, go ask your grandparents. Right? Next. Then this I'll quickly, there are Buddha's footprints wherever Buddha walked. So Lumbini, where he was born, Kapilavastu, where he lived, his father's kingdom, Bodh Gaya, where he got enlightenment, Sarnath, where he gave his first sermon, and Kushinagar, where he attained nirvana. Right? So all these places are visitable. Then there are Jain Tirthas. The temple on the left you see is the Ranakpur Jain temple, one of the most beautiful temples you can see. Temple on the right is a temple, is a monastery called Lama Yuru. It is in Ladakh. Okay, one of the most remote monasteries I have visited. Next. On the left one was Jain. On the right is Buddhist. Right. Next. Okay, these are some of the important Jain tirthas. Next. Then we have 5 places which are sacred to the Sikhs. Yeah. And then there are Gram Devatas and Kshetra Devatas. Right? So who's the Gram Devata of this Gram? Do you know? No, of this Gram, who's the Gram Devata? What is the Gram name here? I can't hear. Nalak. Who's the Gram Devi or Gram Devata? So that's your homework now. To find out who's the Gram Devi or Gram Devata of this Gram. Right, ma'am? Okay. We must worship the Kshetra Devata. Because we believe that wherever we are living, and you are living here, we are living in the jurisdiction of the Gram Devata or the Kshetra Devata. Right? So your homework is to find out who's the Gram Devata of this Gram. Next. So these are some of the Gram Devata examples I have. The left one is Jyotiba temple. It is close to Kolhapur in Maharashtra. It belongs to that region. You won't find these temples outside of that region. Temple on the right is a very interesting temple. It is the temple of Bala Tripura Sundari. Bala Tripura Sundari is the Devi of what? Anybody? You learn music, right? So she is the Devi of performing arts, of dancers, of musicians, right? And you know where this temple is? This temple is in a village called Kuchipudi in Andhra Pradesh. Kuchipudi dance, the classical dance, gets its name from the village of Kuchipudi. And even today, everybody in that village is associated with dance. They are either dancers, or they are musicians, or they are costume designers, or they are jewelry makers, or they are teachers. Everything, everybody in that village, even today, is associated with the dance of Kuchipudi. Okay, and she is the deity who's at the center of the village. And how appropriate that in Shastras we hear that Bala Tripura Sundari is the presiding deity of performing arts. And this is a village which is dedicated to performing arts. So think about it. We don't have a research, we don't have documentation. But when you connect the dots, you find that the village deities were not chosen randomly. They were pretty much connected to what we do in life. So that we have the blessings of the right Devata, we have the energy of the right Devata to guide us on the path that we have chosen for ourselves. Right? Why do we put Saraswati in our schools and colleges? Because we want to be guided by Saraswati, that Vidya Devi. Right? Next one. Okay. Then there is something called Arsh Tirthas. Arsh means what? Okay, ashram comes from Arsh. That is right. So Arsh Tirthas are the Tirthas which are associated with Rishi Munis. Wherever our Rishi Munis had their ashrams, they become our Arsh Tirthas. Again, they are found across India. And, the one on the left is Ram Tirth Ashram. It is in Amritsar in Punjab. This is supposed to be one of the Valmiki ashrams where Lav Kush was born, where Sita lived in the Valmiki's ashram and Lav Kush were born. I have found them across India. I found one in Bithur in UP. There's one in Kerala also where they believe Lav Kush were born. But this is one of the ashrams which is supposed to belong to the time of Valmiki. The one on the right is the ashram of Neem Karoli Baba, who lived just a few years ago, who lived in 1960s, 70s, 80s, and you probably know it with the name of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs used to come here to visit Neem Karoli Baba, and this is an ashram close to Nainital in Uttarakhand. The reason I've chosen these two pictures is that one is an ancient ashram, which goes back to the Treta Yuga, to the time of Valmiki. And another is an ashram that pretty much belongs to our times. And both of them are equally revered. So, not all ashrams have to be rooted in past. It's possible that tomorrow, with all the sadhana that you guys are doing, this village will become an Arshatirtha. Right? Right? So, Muddinahalli is an ashrama because there are Siddha Purushas who have chosen to sit here and do their sadhana. That is how tirthas are charged with energy. So, anybody who comes here takes away the positive energy here. So, this is how the map, this is the Ram Yatra map. This I've taken the picture from Ayodhya Shodh Sansthan, where they have retraced the yatra that Sri Ram did from Ayodhya to Sri Lanka. There are 2-3 different paths. We'll talk about it some other time. These are the two temples. The first one is Tirth. There is a yatra path in Kashi called Panchakroshi Yatra. It's a very popular yatra which is particularly done in this month of Savan. And what is interesting is that in the yatra you meet temples which say Sri Ram and the three brothers, Sri Ram, Lakshman, Shatrughan and Bharat also did this yatra. And then you have one temple depicting Pandavas and Draupadi saying even they did this yatra. The reason I'm showing you this is the fact that these yatras are ancient paths that have been traveled by our ancestors. Who is Sri Ram? Who are Pandavas? They are our ancestors. They are not somebody who belong to somebody else. They are our ancestors. We all have descended from them, right? So generations after generations have performed these yatras, and that is what has kept India bound in one thread. So yatras are the thread that binds India together. Next. You know about Kumbh Mela, so I'm going to skip right now. Next. So very briefly, the classifications of tirthas. There are Nitya tirthas, there are Bhagavad tirthas, there are Guru and Sant tirthas. I've already covered these. Next one. Then there is a classification based on whether those tirthas are available or not available. So first is Prapta tirtha, tirthas that you can visit. Within that, you have Sulabh and Durlabh tirtha. Sulabh tirtha like Kashi. It's very easy to go. You can take a flight, you can take a train, you can drive to Kashi. It's very easily available. Then there are Durlabh tirthas like Kailash Mansarovar. It's not easy. It's there. You can go, but it's not easy to reach. And these definitions keep changing. Then there are Vikalpa Samyad. So alternate there. So if you can't go to Ganga, go to Godavari. If you can't go to Ganga, go to Kaveri. The alternate tirthas, which are available close to you. Then there are Ardhalupta tirthas, like lot of Shakti Peeths, which have been lost. We roughly know it used to be here, but they are kind of lost. So for example, Ram Mandir in Ayodhya was lost. We knew it was there, but it was lost. Then there are Lupt tirthas, which we have lost. And they will probably appear at some time in our lives. All our scriptures will tell you you can travel all around the world, but ultimately it's your Manas tirthas, that matter. If you are following Satya, Kshama, Dan, Indriya Nigraha, Daya, Gyan, Tapa, then you don't need to go anywhere. In colloquial Hindi, we say, Man changa to kathauti mein Ganga. If your heart is pure, then the Ganga is in your own well, in your own lake. Right? So these are some of the definitions. Ultimately, Manas Tirtha is what we all need to achieve. But to reach there, we may have to go through these physical tirthas. Next. So, how many of you know of Lonely Planet? Lonely Planet book? No. Okay, this generation doesn't know. Okay. So Skanda Puran and Padma Puran are two Puranas which give us a lot of information about our Tirthasthalas. Skanda Purana is like a guidebook to all our Tirthas. It's a huge Purana, almost as big as Mahabharat, but it gives you information about all the Tirthas. And the second Puran, which has some of the information, is Padma Puran. Next. Which Tirtha should you visit? A very quick one. So the first Tirtha that you need to visit is your own home. The temple in your own home. That is most important because that is the one that charges you every day. Then the temple of your Ishta Devata, your Kul Devata, your Kshetra Devata, and then Tirthasthalas, and then any other temple that attracts you. This is the order in which you should visit temples. Right? Any questions or any thoughts that you want to share? Yes. I don't know why the right ear is sacred, but it is considered sacred. I'll find out and come back to you. Right? Maybe because maybe it doesn't get dirty. Even the Janeyu, when people they put it behind their right ear. But I'll find out. Thank you. Any Tirth Yatras that you would like to go on? Yes. Then so what makes them insignificant? So So, see, they fall into insignificant because we stop going to them. So, we have to start going to them. Somewhere we are all disconnected with our roots. So, the first thing, that's why, I don't say go and visit these 10 most beautiful temples. I say go and visit the temple in your vicinity because that's how that temple will come alive. Lot of these temples are lying in South India. We at least worship. In North India, you go, there are a lot of temples which are lying in absolute ruins. There are temples like Khajuraho where we can do pran pratishtha and make them living. There are temples like Modhera Sun Temple. You can put a murti and do the pran pratishtha and make them live. Right then, thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
On behalf of all the leadership board members, staff, and students, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for sharing your wonderful insights with us. In fact, it has evinced how divinely spectacular and kaleidoscopic India is, and is a reminder to the citizens of India how the rich heritage and culture is an irreplaceable source of inspiration for its citizens, largely defining India's global cultural identity, the identity which should be known by each and every one of us. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for such an enlightening session. May we now request Dr. K.P. Sailila ma'am to extend a token of love and gratitude to Anuradha ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for the most inspiring and informative talk which you've given us. It's very interesting, and I hope you come again whenever you get time and explain more details about these temples.
Generally we go to tirthas for removing our sins, right? If we dip our head in that river or water, then we feel our sins are removed. But there is one story, our karma will come back to us. In what way? One person go to river, ask how you are bearing all these sins, because all devotees are coming and dip their head in this. Then no, 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 I am not holding all these sins, I am giving away to ocean, because all rivers will flow to ocean. Then that person go to ocean and ask same way, how you are bearing all these sins. Then ocean also tells, no, no, I am not keeping, I am giving to clouds. So clouds, again this person go to clouds, ask, no, no, I am not keeping, in the rain, in the form of rains, I am giving to earth again. So using that water, these plants will grow, and we eat food from growing plants like that. Again we are coming, getting back into that karma. So how we can feel our trust, our sins are removing by going to tirthas.
So, going to Tirtha is not a pleasure trip. In fact, I didn't touch upon that Tirtha versus tourism, which essentially answers this. So, going to Tirtha involves a lot of things, and I think only Sabrimala pilgrimage people follow that. The vrat, the niyam, the upavas, the all the things, brahmacharya, indriya nigraha, the taking the indriyas inwards and not engaging in sensual pleasures is the first step towards going to tirtha. It's not like what we today do, take a book a flight, go to Kashi, click some pictures and come back. That's not tirtha. Tirtha would mean you would keep an upvas for a number of days, take a sankalp, go there, engage in adhyayan, engage in sadhana, engage in tapa, reflect upon your own psychology and let go of your own negativity. So, more than the place, it is your own vrat that helps you. And the place helps you because there are many like us who are doing it there, many who have done it before us, many who continue to do it in our times. So, it is lot to do with the whole process of tirtha. Just going and taking a dip means nothing. It really means nothing. So there is a whole process which is well documented for every yatra. In fact, taking a flight is not really the way to do yatra. If you read the chronicles of yatris of South India, when they used to go to Kashi, they used to finish all their responsibilities, say goodbye to everybody and go, because they didn't know whether they'll come back or not. And there are people who I know who went to Kashi, came back, and they started using Kashi with their names. So it takes a lot of effort to go on a real Tirtha Yatra. Like I said, it's ultimately should lead you to the Manas Tirthas. Right? So taking a dip is just one part or one small part of it. Right? Anything else?
It's a part and parcel of Indian culture that we worship God, we go to temples. All those things were existing. But if you look at the current scenario, if you tell a child that will be visiting a temple or do namaskaram to God, it means nothing to them. We have lost that thread of culture of worshipping God or believing in our culture or practicing our culture or propagating our culture for that matter. How can we restore this culture which we have lost?
I want the answer from your generation. How can we restore it? But let me tell you, we have grown up on this Western education, which tells us that we can control everything. So there is nobody else who controls anything in my life. While we in the Indian system, we believe that there is a larger force. I can do whatever I want to do, but I may get more than what I have worked for or less than what I've worked for, because there is a larger force at place. So like we planned to have this lecture, but till I actually delivered it, anything could have happened in between which could have stopped it. Or there may have been 20,000 forces which would have come together to bring me here. Am I the only person responsible for being here? No. So for every big and small thing in Eastern philosophies, in Indian philosophies, we believe there is a larger force, and that is the larger force that we bow down. The Ishvara, we call it Ishvara. And we recognize that no matter what we do or don't do, there is a larger force playing its role. While in the Western thought system, we believe everything is what I control. My life is what I control, which is not true. Because no matter how much, what you do, there are 90% of the things are out of your control. What we call anugraha or karma, right? So that thought process, if we can correct and say there is a larger force, then you will naturally bow down to that. You'll naturally feel gratitude towards that. Huh. That's what we have to. So that's why organizations like you come into play. So let us all be like seeds who will sprout this. I don't have an answer at a government level, but I know that. So if I tell about my journey, I have a master's degree in computer science. I've worked in IT industry for a long time, and this is what I'm talking to you about. So if I can do it, each one of us can do it. You know what diye se diya jalate chalo, like they say, na? With one diya you start, and then you start lighting. So today we are 100 here, 200 here. If we go out and tell 200 more, arithmetic progression, geometric progression, it will happen. You know, government has to work at its level, that is also true. And you as young voters have to demand it. You get your MPs, MLAs visiting you, right? Demand it. It's your right.